Good morning. This is the first inaugural, I guess, interview session or whatever podcast of talking to artists, and I'm hoping that that you guys can join me. I'm sort of going to just do a bit of an introduction and then bring my sister on. Hey, Mary. Thanks. Mary's actually going to be my guest later on today, and so. One of the reasons that I decided I wanted to do this was partially it gave me a great opportunity to go and talk to different artists, which some of the artists I meet in art fairs like Mary Johnson, some are in my my community in Toronto, but I think that it's also an opportunity to have hi everybody to have an opportunity to kind of reach out to artists that I don't know that well and would really be interested in knowing a bit more about their process. I'm anticipating this is going to be a combined audience of artists who are just interesting to understand what other artists are inspired by, as well as wannabe artists or people that are interested in kind of like peeling back some of the curtain of what a life of an artist is actually about. And also collectors who want to maybe understand a little bit more about kind of the process of what's happening. So I just first of all wanted to talk a little bit about the kind of the whole Black Lives Matter issue that's happening today. I feel I can't really do any sort of communication without really addressing that. And obviously I'm sitting here as a privileged white woman in an industry that tends to be pretty white, feeling really horrified by what's happening, but also recognizing that need to educate myself and really do a lot of learning. And to that point, I have reached out and we're trying to just figure out how to kind of address this properly. And I'm stumbling over my words because I just don't really know how to articulate what I need to do. And I'm sure many of you are in that space as well. Jenny Lynn James, who is an artist within the Artist Network, has actually agreed to be one of my guests. So we're just trying to figure out a time that works for her, which I think will be really interesting. She was on my list anyway because she's an incredibly talented artist who is also a really great business person. But I think even more relevant now because she can bring a little bit of that kind of Black understanding to our world. And the Artist Network is also very supportive of the Indigenous community, which I appreciate is different from the Black Lives Matter issue. But in Canada, that is also something that I think we need to kind of address, where there's systemic racism that's existing. So anyway, didn't want to make this a political thing. I just felt that I really needed to kind of, address it and know that we're kind of thinking about it. All right, so I am now going to try and bring on my sister, Helen Utsal, who is a very talented artist in her own right. And she's going to be actually doing this interview from the woods. She lives on Vancouver Island, so a lot of her inspiration comes from the incredible nature that's kind of Vancouver Island. So let me just, I haven't done this before, so where's Helen? Oh, there she is. Okay. This might actually be easier than I thought. And I'm also trying to speak more slowly because everyone told me I talk too fast. Hey, Helen.
Oops, sorry. I think I went on too early.
No, you totally didn't. No, it's good.
Hi.
I'm just still learning how to do it. Can you turn your sound up a little bit so we can hear you?
That's about as loud as it goes.
Okay.
Is that a bit better? Maybe I'll just be a bit closer. I didn't know exactly how to set up myself here, but...
I know. I think we're all kind of trying to work through this still. I'm also going to be looking at the comments and stuff like that. So if you have questions, and please, I'll try and ask Helen too. But I think first, do you want to talk a little bit about your outdoor studio? Which is so cool.
Well, normally I go somewhere a little bit more remote, but it's early in the morning, and so I cheated a little bit by coming somewhere quite close. There's a little walking path here, so actually people are going to be walking by probably with their dogs and stuff. But this is just a gorgeous little place near where I live, a really nice little walking path. Oh, and then these trees, legitimately, these two, they're actually aspen trees. I just think the bark is so interesting, and they're right where I live, right near here. So I have painted many paintings of these pictures, including this one is inspired by this this tree. Anyway, it's hard to see, but it's sort of a bit of a more of a fantastic, colorful play on nature here.
And so, yeah, so I know that I've been, of course, being in Toronto, I've been really jealous of your ability throughout the whole COVID-19 and social distancing to be able to social distance in such an amazing place, which is so inspiring as well.
It's so true. We're so lucky through the COVIDs here because there's so much outdoor activity to do and there's so much space. I mean, you can go onto the trails and, you know, you'll pass by some people, but not very many. And there's plenty of room for everybody. So I think lots of my friends and neighbors are just out in the bush and on the trails, and yeah.
So do you want to talk a little bit about, like, you know, obviously I love the idea and the romance of plein air painting and, you know, like the group of 7 and taking your canvases out into the wilderness. Being an abstract painter, it seems a little bit ridiculous. I don't know. Except when I'm at the cottage. But maybe you can talk a bit about your inspiration, what you do and how you do it.
I think I just fell in love with nature. You know, growing up, we would spend so many long summer days. I just think of those days at the cottage in the summer when you're a kid and like 24 hours, it seems like the days are like 48 hours because it's just, and I just developed such a deep connection with that just really brings me joy. So I just spend a lot of time in nature. I'm lucky where I chose to live here because there's so much stuff here. And I actually just got a kayak, so I'm looking forward to going out this summer on some little day trips with some smaller canvases or something and make some paintings live like that. I think it's just kind of magical painting in life, in the nature, because I think you sort of somehow manage to trap a little bit of the magic and the energy and the grounding energy of nature, like in your paintings. If they're like, I find the ones that I do make out in the woods they do have a bit of a different spirit than the ones that are made in the studio, and I tend to like them better. Yeah,
so
and
do you kind of have a limited palette? Like I remember you saying a while ago, like strapping a 36 by 36 to your back and hiking it to the mountain, which I just thought was such a lovely visual.
I didn't hike up a mountain, but I did carry it through with the easel, which is probably heavier than the damn painting. Sometimes I just lean it against a tree if it's a bigger one. That's just something I do like to bring the big ones, because I just remember looking at Tom Thompson's, you know, little sketches, and they're so energetic, and I wanted to capture that in my paintings, but I would see his bigger paintings and I'd be kind of like a little let down that they don't have that same energy. So I thought, well, I'm going to have to just bring the big ass canvas into the forest with me, and it does work. But yeah, there's places where you can get in, and it seems like you're really deep in the primordial, you know, forest, and really the parking lot's, you know, not that far away.
You can't break the mystery of it. Now it doesn't sound so romantic.
Well, there's,
I do my car painting and drop it off.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And also, yes, I only bring usually, like, yeah, as you said, 3 colors with me. Because you really I'm really trying to just mark out the real darks, the real lights, and the energy. And then I don't complete the picture in the forest. Personally, I'm only good for 2 or 3 hours, and then
you have to hike it all the way back out, or just take it to your
car. Well, you're ready to just change it up, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that's true. I think sometimes people forget that even though you really love painting, you know, it's really quite an emotional and mental exercise, and it can be kind of exhausting. I know for myself too. Like if I put in 4 hours of really good painting, like I think that's a good day.
That's so true.
I'm just not one of those ones who can paint for 8 hours.
Yeah, it's true. You sort of underestimate the mental energy it does take. Yeah, it's quite tiring too. Yeah. And also just the fact that you do I spend more time looking at my paintings probably than painting my paintings. And it's a bit of a trap the worst thing is if there's a deadline coming up, because then you feel the anxiety of like, oh my gosh, I have to hurry up and paint. But it doesn't really work like that. You have to just paint and then look, and then paint. You know, it's like,
yeah. I know, because I've done a couple of videos where, you know, when I'm actually doing kind of the first set of it, people are like, oh, you paint really fast. I'm like, yeah, but that's just one small part of the whole process, right?
Yeah.
And even just getting yourself into the right zone. It was funny, I was in the studio yesterday, and you know, I probably was there for a good hour, like talking to Karen and, you know, puttering around and organizing my studio before I could kind of get into the creative vibe of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. If you haven't been in the studio a while and you have to just reacquaint yourself with your space, and yeah, it's
Yeah,
true.
like meditation, someone's saying, which is totally true. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and I
So that's
do
actually a
find,
good segue because I know that for your work, you really kind of embody the concept of green bathing or Shinrin yoku. I don't know, you can maybe talk about that a bit.
well, it was an accidental find in Psychology Today, I think, that when, you know, when you're reading an article and you're like, oh, I completely get this, you know, I've been doing this and I didn't know what it was called, but it's the Japanese term is Shinrin yoku, and it's green therapy, I think, green bathing. And it's funny because I was a bit nervous coming on live Instagram or something, but then when I was here, I just thought, well, of all the places to be a bit anxious about public speaking, this is the place, because just the smell of this place I'm standing in is medicine, I swear. It's just, you know, and so that's kind of what the green bathing is about, is just, you don't have to try. You just go in the woods and your body responds and just goes, oh, thank goodness, you know, I can just relax now.
Yeah. Well, and I think they were saying that, I think I was reading too, that we're so programmed to find being outside in nature, relaxing, that even paintings and pictures of trees and water and nature does the same sort of thing in the brain, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's true. And then during COVID, I've been going on extra long walks, like 2-hour hikes, and we find a great spot and meditate actually by a stream or on a overlook, like on an outlook, even though we have our eyes closed. And that's been such a, well, it's really saved me, I think, during the COVID, just this time in nature and those meditations. I don't know if you guys meditate, but it's quite remarkable how 10 minutes of your life can give you more just quality energy on other things in your life. It's like it does buy you that time back somehow, because you're just, yeah, more grounded, I guess, and more clear-headed or something.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool.
So I love the idea that potentially my art can bring into people's homes a feeling of peacefulness and meditative, like a meditative sort of feeling, serenity. But
yeah, and it's very interesting. I find in this kind of whole COVID time too, where, you know, art is not something that typically people would buy online. It's a personal experience. It's talking to the artist. It's seeing the work in real life. But I am finding there seems to be kind of an increased appetite in looking at and purchasing art and wanting to add art to your home that kind of either gives you that kind of calm tranquility of nature, or in my case, a lot of it is kind of, it's about joy and a little bit of happiness in your space.
Yeah,
and
some color.
Because people are spending so much more time in their homes, so they're actually now looking at these blank walls, kind of going, it's driving me crazy.
Yeah.
But I think also it is that need, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And it takes some people some time to clue into that they can get that from art. So, yeah, it's wonderful when they do. When they buy their first piece of original art and then they live with it for a while and they clue into the value, because they start to realize it actually is feeding them something.
Yeah.
It's not just passively hanging on your wall.
Well, I always say to people too, it's like, you know, if you really love the piece, like the piece when you buy it, you're really, really going to love it after you live with it for a bit, right? It always happens. So maybe you can talk a little bit, obviously, as people who don't know us, we're obviously sisters and come from a family of artists. Yeah. So Helen and I both have our bachelors of fine arts. Our grandmother is also a professional artist, which has been a really amazing opportunity, I think, for both of us to really build on some of this practice, and also being able to actually really consider being an artist as a professional career. But our paintings are very different, although our color palettes are kind of quite similar, which is pretty cool. So do you want to talk a little bit about your process and what you do and how you choose your colors? And all that cool
this painting is very weird colors, really. I like to, I sort of seem to evolve from color to color. Like, I'm sure like you, like I'll rediscover a color that I'm just really resonating with in the moment. And maybe it has something to do with the way you're feeling in the moment, but, and things launch out of there. Like you mix it with specific colors. I have a pretty, what do you call it? Like a limited palette generally I only usually have maybe 3 or 4 colors in my pictures. And then, yeah, and then I'll find a new color that looks great or just really buzzes off that color. And so then I'll evolve into my next color palette. This was sort of an orangey background, this painting. And then I go into it with, so I base it out with acrylics and then go into it with acrylics and oil pastels. I've been using oil pastels and doing more drawing on my panels lately, since Paris, actually, since February. And I'm really liking it. It's kind of bringing out, because with my painting, I'm trying to be a bit more abstracted and my thoughts and the way I'm trying to express the forest and nature. And then the drawing, I've always been a keen drawer. And I think that it really is bringing back a little bit more realism to this picture that's quite fantastic, kind of. So I think it kind of gives a bit of a different look. I like it.
Yeah. And do you kind of have your go-to colors that, you know, you'd never be without? Like, I know for me, you know, deep turquoise and liquid mirror and kind of a deep magenta are probably 3 that, even though sometimes I try and discipline myself not to use them, they just seem to sneak their way into every piece.
Yeah, I guess probably these limey greens. I love these really yellowy greens. And yeah, orange, maybe. Purple. Apparently you use a lot of purple.
Someone says great vibe.
Oh.
It's a great vibe. Actually, it's funny because from here it almost looks a little bit Nouvelle Morisot-ish. Like, just because, you know, the
interesting.
The trees kind of go at the top, which I think is really kind of cool.
Yeah, and maybe because I haven't, like, it's still quite general shapes. I was going to leave it a little bit rough looking, this picture, because it seems a little more punk rock than an oil painting, like more of a, sometimes just comes out that way, hey, and you have to just let it be its own thing. So I think this picture might be
totally
different.
Well, and I think that's the other part too. You're talking about being in the right zone. I think the other thing too is, I know for me, the actual act of producing the painting is actually a huge, important part of it for me. And so, hi, Krista. And so, you know, it's kind of one of those things where it's one of the reasons that I have a 0 risk commission policy, because sometimes you have intentions of doing something and then you actually get to work on a piece and it kind of takes on a life of its own. At the end, it's like, well, it's not really what the client asked for. So, you know, if they love it, that's amazing. But if they don't, you know, then they don't have to. That's totally cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I just find like this tree behind me here, I've drawn or I've painted several times, and they're all very, very different paintings. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess each tree kind of brings out a bit of a different flavor or demand, the way it wants to be expressed or something.
Yeah. So obviously the where you live is incredibly inspirational, and it's a wonderful place to live and stuff. Is it a good place to sell art, or if not, then what's your plan for that, or how do you meet?
Well, you know, what's so interesting is when I moved here, I expected, being from the cities, we grew up mostly around near cities, and I didn't expect to have a market really here in my community, because it's not really a very big community, and I guess I just didn't have that expectation. Generally, in this town, people will spend thousands of dollars on bikes and kayaks and equipment like that. And art they're just learning that, oh, we can spend our money on art and we like art. So I'm finding actually during the COVID, I've been surprised and happy to discover there is a lot more interest in art here. So I think we're coming along nicely, but
that's good.
So in general, in the past, I've always been trying to reach out to larger centers like Toronto for my art, but it's a challenge because the thing I really love and connect with here is the mossy trees that really people out on the West Coast are the ones that are maybe going to be buying those pictures, because it seems like people do want to surround themselves with more of their own beloved geography, you know?
Yeah. Oh, totally. I think that makes sense. I mean, I find even for myself, like, you know, living in Ontario and cottage country and stuff like that has a very unique look about it, you know, with the, you know, the kind of
Oh, those
big rocks
rocky, isolated, sort of a bit more
islands and stuff.
sparse.
And so even though I can really appreciate, when I go down to Miami and I see the palm trees and they're super cool, they don't talk to me kind of at a deep level, right? Because you don't have that personal experience.
Yeah.
But it is, I think it's great that you come, usually do the artist project, Riverdale Art Walk, Ottawa show, which of course all those are now online. But,
it's
I'll
true.
miss seeing you because we usually do really
I
great trips to Ottawa.
I know, and our road trip to Ottawa is always really fun. Yeah.
It is, yeah.
I know.
But the other interesting thing I'm finding is, a lot of artists have typically not been that fast at trying to sell their work online or promote online. And I think with this social isolation and so many of these shows being canceled, I'm certainly seeing that. I'm doing it myself. I've got my little treasures now online, which I've been thinking about for 2 years, but didn't actually do until now. And you're finding you're doing the same thing?
Yeah, definitely. I think people are looking online for art. I'm getting the sense that people do want to, maybe they're used to spending more money and they're shopping or something online.
Yeah. Well, actually, no, you're totally right. Because I just got a call from somebody and they had been following me for a while. And they say a combination of staring at this empty wall and not being able to go out and spend money on vacations and dinners and stuff. They say, well, I've got now an art fund and now I'd like to fill that wall.
Yeah, that's right. I'm not going somewhere else to look at beautiful things and I'm going to bring them to my home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And outdoor furniture and pools and those kind of things. People are in our town anyways. Those companies that are selling those kind of products are doing very well during COVID, actually. So that's good. That's great.
Yeah, well, that's good. Well, and hopefully we'll all kind of
adjust
get through this and have it's like a bit of a great pause, to sort of slow down a little bit and think about your life and think about what you want to do and kind of how you want to.
What's important, and what you're going to hang on to, because everyone's probably changed their lives quite a bit in the last 70 days or 80 days or something. It's so
sorry,
I was just going to say I'm trying to think of something I can share with you about my painting process, but no,
I was just going to say, and I think the next show you're doing obviously is the Riverdale Art Walk, which is now online.
Yeah, that opens Saturday. It opened today.
Nope,
did it open today? Okay, nope, Saturday. Yeah. Oh, but can people? Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. I think it looks really amazing, and all the shops of the individual artists. It just looks really good, and I think it's so great that even though we won't be able to see the people, the show goes on, and that people that have gone to that show probably every year for years will be able to go on the site and see their same favorite artists and have some connection anyways.
Yeah, no, I think so too. Although, totally we all miss the personal piece of it, but that's the way it is. Yeah. And then you've got, on your store, you're selling you've got little pieces as well, 6x6s, I think.
I've got some little 6x6s. I've got packages of art cards, of 8 art cards per pack, and I've got 7 different collections of those. And I've got prints and original paintings.
Cool. Anything else you'd like to share?
Well, my heart goes out to you guys in Ontario, and I hope that they will regionally open you up for business and stuff, because that's, I don't know, I just feel bad that you've been under such more serious lockdown than we have, Well,
I think it's starting to open, and I think as long as people try and be responsible, and we're lucky in our community of artists, we have a lot of people making super cool masks, so it becomes a fashion statement. Which is kind of fun.
And we'll have to have
the
COVID art shows.
Yeah. Okay, well, I want to thank you for being my guinea pig to be my first.
Well, thanks so much.
I've been trying to do this Talking to Artists podcast for about 2 years, so I guess a couple of years I got the big microphone, and I kind of conned Helen into doing an interview, and then it didn't go anywhere, and then I had her do another interview that didn't go anywhere. So at least this way we are actually.
I'm excited about it because you just know so many artists. Like, you have such a wide net of people that through all of your different comings and goings in your own business and life. And I think it's going to be really interesting to find out who's on and hear what they have to say.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'm going to discover some new faves.
Where Helen's located? So Helen's located in Courtney Comox, which is on Vancouver Island. So an amazing.
Yeah, we're like an hour north of Nanaimo on that same inside on the Georgia Strait.
So you can find her at artist_H Utsal, UTSAL. And also she also runs Art Alchemy Art Studio, which, as you guys know, I've shamelessly stolen her name and done Art Alchemy East in Toronto. So there's lots of places to be able to find her.
Yep.
Just want to see if there's any questions. It's such a great initiative. Who better than Helen to kick it off? Thanks, Carolyn. She'd be safe. She would be okay if I had half of it upside down like I did my other one, which was very embarrassing.
That was hilarious. And I loved yesterday's welcoming that lady on. She's like, oh.
Yeah. And it's funny because I accepted her and I wasn't really sure whether or not maybe she had something really important to add. I don't think she intended to actually join.
No, and she didn't seem too bothered though either. She wasn't in a hurry to get off. She was like, oh my God, what have I done? She's like, don't speak English.
Yeah, I know. And of course, my very limited German completely escaped me because I was,
I wouldn't know what. Yeah,
it was fun.
Anyways.
Anyway, so
thank you so much, Kate, for having me on. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining me. And I'm really glad it worked out. I'm so glad that the weather was nice and we were able to kind of see your amazing outdoor studio.
Yeah, I brought my umbrella just in case.
Sorry?
I brought my umbrella just in case. I was going to.
Smart. I know, you West Coasters always do that. You have like full rain gear.
We're prepared.
So we're coming up. We've got Julie Veenstra, who is kind of the one who originally actually, I interviewed with her a couple of weeks ago. And so this is kind of, she galvanized me to actually make this happen. So she's coming up next week. My friend Mary Johnson, who is an American artist, and I do a lot of US shows with her, and she is super fun. And unfortunately,
like her stuff,
we will not be in San Diego together.
Oh.
Laurie Mirabelli, Carolyn Laidley-Arn, who's kind of going to talk a little bit about how throughout this COVID, her outlet for creativity has kind of changed. And so kind of talking about how she's kind of building a business around that. And then Marjolaine Vanderhart, who, if any of you have been following her series on digital, she does a lot of selling online, some really great nostalgia work. But also she's going to be talking a little bit about that too. So we're going to try, I'm not so good with process and schedules, but we're going to try and do every Thursday at 11 a.m. With different artists. And then Jenny Lynn James, we're not sure yet when she's going to come in. But
people are going to be clamoring to get on board.
I don't think so, but
I think it's awesome.
You know what? If nothing else, it's fun for me, and it keeps me connected.
I love it. Okay.
All right, so thank you so much, everybody, and hopefully I can save this properly so it'll be on my story and it'll be on my IGTV, so that when you want to go back afterwards and like reanalyze everything we've said for our brilliance, then you can do that.
Not.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Helen, and I'm going to cut you off now, I think.
Okay.
Ready?
Bye.
Helen Utsal. And if there's any more questions, thanks for the color we've got. Thank you. Great interview. Thanks, Karen. Any advice? I really tried hard to speak slowly because I know I talk too fast. As Karen Jeffrey says, I can be kind of frenetic. Anyway, kind of let me know if there's any people you'd like to talk to, or if you'd like me to try and see if I can interview some people that you're interested in. Eventually, I'd like to interview, there's a couple of gallery owners too that are having to change their business as well, which I think would be really interesting kind of to talk about and how we can kind of support them. And I think that's it. So have a fabulous weekend, and thank you so much for supporting this, and let me know your thoughts. Thanks a lot. Bye.